If Samurai Champloo is hip-hop, Berserk is metal, and Fist of the North Star is punk, then Black Lagoon is pure rock and roll. A non-stop, heart-pounding, lead-pumping thrill ride revolving around the literal scum of the earth. You see this? You see her? You don't want that. She's fun, but the second you go deeper than a beer, she's gonna ruin your life. Believe me, I've been there. And I think that's what drew me to the show and why this video exists now. It's not often I get one episode into a series and decide we're gonna do it the next week. So if you're willing, step out of the light for 15 minutes and go on a ride with me through an anime that isn't afraid to dive into the world of drugs, guns, and human trafficking. This is Black Lagoon. Let's get into it. Quickly, I have to give a huge thank you to our patrons. The support over the past few months has been unbelievable, and it's because of you guys that we can keep making videos full time. It's because of you that we could take 2 weeks to make our 40-minute Outlaw Star video. You guys are keeping us afloat, and all Tyler and I can say is thank you so much. And if you want to support the channel, please consider joining the Patreon. We put a ton of time and effort into making our affordable tiers worthwhile with exclusive Patreon shows, viewing parties, and our new weekly podcast where we talk about the previous week's video topic and give tons of behind the scenes info as to what's been going on. So if you want to support us in keeping this passion project going while getting a ton of extra content, please check it out. Links in the description. Now on with the show. Watching Revy and crew drinking and smoking at the bar gave me an instant nostalgia trip. Listening to them talk right before the place goes to hell and then seeing their delight in the chaos brought back memories I generally don't consider good. However, I guess a part of me misses the days I whiled away with miscreants and thugs. Black Lagoon excels beyond the norm in two specific aspects: action scenes and philosophical character relationships. We're immediately dumped into a hostage situation set in the infamous South China Sea where the Lagoon Company, a pirate mercenary smuggling group, abducts our main character, Rakuro Okajima. Of course, the Lagoon Company wasn't after Rakuro, he was just the unlucky salaryman who happened to be on this business trip carrying a confidential disc which holds plans for a nuclear weapon his company helped develop, and that disc is the target of the Russian mafia that hired Lagoon. Despite being a prisoner, Rakuro bonds with the members of Lagoon with their leader Dutch, who nicknames him Rock, and this is where events truly begin to take shape. Despite being a hostage or prisoner, Rock feels he's treated with more respect from these mercenary pirates than he ever got from his own company. He complains about having to kiss his boss's ass, constantly bowing and getting chewed out all the time simply for being lower on the totem pole. It's the corporate capitalist world at its finest, and Rock is just another nobody on the illusory ladder of success. In reality, he's more trapped in a cage of stagnation, a common feeling for the working man in Japan. His kidnapping unveils the reality of his life, or lack thereof. Despite being a prisoner, he's more free now from one night of drinking with these hardened strangers than he ever was back in Japan. And so begins the transition in how Rock looks at his life, what's important, and what is considered living. The differences between the life of a mid-range salaryman and a smuggler mercenary are vast, yet from just this small interaction with his captors, Rock knows he's missing something. So when the hostage situation is resolved and Rock is able to go back to Japan, back to his cushy life of loneliness and office supplies, he refuses, instead opting to join the Lagoon Company and become a mercenary pirate smuggler ne'er-do-well like his new cohorts. And so goes the saying, the grass is always greener on the other side. But my question is that true? Is freedom better than stability? Is excitement more important than safety? Is feeling alive more important than actually living? Black Lagoon is another anime that lets its audience take what it wants. If you're just in it for the hot chicks and cool fights, that's all good, but if you're willing to look deeper, Black Lagoon offers to test you on what's important and ask you what you want out of life if you're able to take its punches. So what's important to your life? I've had to ask myself that same question a million times. Now, Rock is a dead man. His corporate boss connects with him while he's kidnapped by the Lagoon Company, only to tell him that he's been declared dead by his employer, the Asahi Company. He makes a show of saying how Rock will be promoted to assistant manager and the board members will attend his funeral, but for the sake of the Asahi Company and its 50,000 employees, it's better for Rock to just disappear. Oh, and by the way, there's a team of professional mercenaries coming to kill you and your kidnappers as we speak. Have fun. Now think about that. An employee has the unfortunate luck of being the courier for some nuke blueprints and gets kidnapped because of those nukes, and instead of helping the poor soul, the company's just like, well, sucks to be you. Yeah, but don't worry, we'll attend your funeral and you'll be honored as assistant to the regional manager. Also, you're already pronounced dead, so don't bother arguing. Right from the get-go, Black Lagoon takes a stab at traditional capitalism and the idea of the company being more important than an individual's life. His boss's reasoning is the same as for the greater good. It's just one life. We'd much rather the company succeed and its 50,000 employees continue to be employed. You get it, right, Rock? Your life is worthless as soon as it costs too much to save. And the value on Rock's life directly contrasts with how the Lagoon company treats him. Despite being a hostage, they ask if he wants to come drinking with them. There's no ropes, no chains, nothing to stop him from running away. Hell, he gets into a drinking contest with Revy almost immediately, which I recommend never doing. No one wins a drinking contest. It never ends like it does in the movies. But this is where I bonded with the show almost immediately because I recognized the characters. I knew these scumbags, and I definitely knew Rock. When I was 17, I walked out of my house for good, and what I didn't know is that I wouldn't have my own home again until I was 23. In those years, I saw some shit. I got involved with some terrible people too. First place I ended up was a hellhole. Bunch of burned up, strung out petty criminals living in filth. They'll never forget the time I was just trying to get high in the green room at some frat party we crashed when the psychotic Russian dude we kept around pulled his knife on the hippies after huffing too much amyl nitrate while the rest of the crew was trying to make off with a sound system and some TVs from the guest room. The ensuing chaos was a sight to behold, but we escaped. In fact, I always escaped. We also never let Dave bring Rambo to a party again. For me, I kept a wall between where I was, who I was with, and who I am on the inside. And I was no car homeless, so where I ended up was usually out of convenience or lack of options. However, I wasn't a real criminal. I couldn't do the things that were asked of me to maintain where I crashed. I couldn't rob people, I couldn't hurt people, no matter how hard the other guys literally tried to beat it into me, so naturally, they stole all my stuff and kicked me back onto the street. 17 was a rough year. However, there was one thing I knew at the time, and it was complete freedom. When Rock and Dutch are having a smoke on the deck of the Black Lagoon as the ship cruises towards shore, Rock inwardly acknowledges that Dutch feels like the only person in the world he can trust. I think this has a lot to do with how Dutch handles Rock and talks to him. From the very beginning, he's completely upfront about their objectives, what they need, and who they are. He explains the Lagoon company simply.
We're nothing more than delivery boys. Sometimes we'll break the rules to put food on the table, but that's business.
And I think this really hits home for Rock. He was also nothing more than a delivery boy, carrying something he didn't even know he had, and it turned his whole life upside down. Despite the differences in their jobs and skill sets, Rock and Dutch are essentially the same right here. And I think Rock realizes that. They each have a base set of needs and nothing to lose, and more importantly, they're free. Now, I don't want you guys to get the word freedom twisted. We're all as free as we want to be, but there's something to be said about having absolutely nothing weighing you down. You can go where you want, when you want, and the only thing stopping you is your own aptitude towards scrounging up enough cash to do it and feed yourself. It makes every day a mission, but at the same time, every day is so much more relevant that way. When you lay down on a soft couch at night with a 5-layer burrito in your gut, you know you did your job. There's no plan for the future because you have no future. You're basically dead to the world because you aren't a part of society anymore. It can be sad and lonely and sometimes wickedly boring, but the good times are so good when they come around. Now, when everybody disembarks for the yellow flag, the shady bar the lowlifes hang out at, which constantly gets blown up, think of it as like the Thai version of the Cabbage Guy's cart. Dutch asks Rock if he's coming along, calling him by his nickname for the first time, and none of them remember his name or call him anything but Rock ever again. Well, except for every time Revy insults him. But right before this scene, the Asahi Company higher-ups are debating what to do about Rock. His superior forgets Rock's name within a minute of it being told, while brushing off Rock's plight with a simple, "I feel bad for the employee." That's the difference between the Asahi Company and the Lagoon Company right there. Dutch sees his team as equals, treats them as such, and more importantly, shows signs of respect and friendship. The Lagoon Company are seen as individuals, as people, not just employees, and that's the type of thinking and leadership that builds trust and loyalty, unlike some backroom manager who's never met the employees below him and can't be bothered to remember the name of the employee they're writing off as dead. And that's a difference I think we can all relate to. I've worked for plenty of companies that don't give a flying fuck about anything but the numbers you bring in. You're nothing more than a data point on a piece of paper or an annoying insurance policy. And if their numbers go down by one, well, that's just one less person to deal with. Working on YouTube is honestly very similar to that, except for you guys. We work for YouTube, sure, but we also work primarily for you. There's potential there for actual human connection, and funnily enough, if each of our subscribers donated a quarter to us, we'd make as much money in one day as we did last year. 50 cents and I'd be living above the poverty line for the first time in my life. That's a dream, you know? And like the Lagoon company, Tyler and I rely on each other, and there's a bond of mutual trust, respect, and friendship between us. I'll work my ass off to get my done because I don't want to let him down, and vice versa. I've never done the same for a massive company, and I certainly wouldn't for YouTube. I do this for the comments from people we make happy. And I think this hits Rock like it hit me. Working with people, not for some giant soulless corporation, gives you a different perspective on your work. It's not just about being some pencil pusher and bringing home a paycheck. It's about doing something you enjoy and making something to be proud of. And if you can make others happy, that's a major plus as well. That being said, no one on the Black Lagoon makes anyone happy. So Rock obviously joins the Lagoon company, choosing to live a life filled with gunfire and death over a simple apartment and a 9-to-5. A massive part of his choice comes from his new coworker and friend, Revy. Now, I'm not gonna lie, Revy shot way up to the top of Tyler's list as one of his favorite best girls. He has a thing for strong woman characters with fucked up backstories, and Revy is definitely the queen of all that. I definitely used to be that way until I actually moved in with one who ruined my life and stole $30,000 from me before winding up dead. But that's a story for another time. Revy grew up in New York City, raised by an abusive alcoholic father. She ran from her dad during one of his alcohol-fueled beatings, only to be arrested, beaten, and raped by a corrupt cop. Afterwards, she went home, shot her father, and dropped out of junior high. She's obsessed with power and is an absolute terror with a gun and just in general. She craves control because she lacked it early in life due to her abusive upbringing and awful interaction with NYC's finest. She equates power to money. It's the one thing everybody respects and agrees on, often making her attempt to maximize the payload of each job, hence taking Rock as a hostage for ransom. But what I see is a mutual but heavily guarded respect accented with envy between Rock and Revy. Rock sees Revy's freedom, her power, her almost inhuman abilities, and part of him wishes he was like her. It's that nearly animalistic urge that I feel every person experiences, the desire to break the rules and pave their own path and to proudly do wrong because of the sheer fact that you have the power to. Revy's lifestyle is the polar opposite of Rock's Japan life, and he both wants it and envies it, yet he can't take the plunge. It's hard being around criminals. There's always a lot of death involved. However, that death is usually the criminals around you rather than the people they infringe upon. Thieves, dealers, brawlers, they're all broken inside. They're constantly pushing the limits to feel alive, to get as much as they possibly can before their time runs out. But in doing so, they generally run out their own clock. ODs, super stunts, messing with the wrong person, eventually they meet their match. Also, there's always that one guy who's legitimately crazy and terrifies you, the one who you never know what they're gonna do, whether it's to you or some other poor person who crosses their path. And Revy is the final stop on the road. She's what happens when you relinquish all concepts of right and wrong and is only held in check by Dutch. Barely. However, her reasons for this aren't pure psychopathy. It's because of her belief that she was abandoned by civilization. There's a guilt she wrestles with when dealing with less tainted people, like Benny Boy and Rock. Rock is the one who talks things out. He's the one who makes the connection with their hostages. His role becomes the good guy of the Lagoon company. It's this inability to let go of the past that pulls Rock into what he calls the twilight. Dutch says that Roanapur, the port city and den of crime and corruption which Black Lagoon takes place in, changes everyone who lives there. And in Rock's own words, it's the edge of the world, the crucible of hypocrisy, a place where those whose souls have been destroyed in the relentless search for money and power reside. And I think therein lies the opposing forces behind Rock's mind. On one hand, he wants to break all of his shackles and be free, but in his mind, to break free and become one of the regular criminals of Roanapur costs the destruction of your soul. He also has a danger sense still, which persuades him to be this nice guy. He isn't ready to resort to violence or kill anything that gets in his way because it could also mean his death. And once again, he reminds me of myself and why I got the nickname C-3PO way back when. He's not ready to give up the morals that were ingrained in him, and he can't let go and become completely uncivilized. He may be dead to the world, but he isn't dead inside. This is literally symbolized in his continual wearing of his button down and tie. He's the blending of the line between normal life and what he sees as true freedom, but with a high cost of entry. Revy has the opposite issue. In her eyes, she's been corrupted and it's beyond repair. In season 2, you can somewhat infer that Revy actually despises Roanapur, her lifestyle, and even herself and who she's become. She kind of wants to change, but doesn't know how, and that desire leads her to envy Rock and his ability to sit in the twilight, having a foot in both worlds, the light and the dark. Towards the end of season 2, Rock and Revy go to Tokyo with the Russian mafia, and it's in Rock's old neighborhood that Revy says she's lived on dirty air her entire life. She's incapable of living in a good place, a normal place like Tokyo. Now, I have this memory of going to the grocery store, which I'm sure doesn't sound that exciting, but it had been about 6 months since I'd been out in public. I hadn't showered or shaved, we had no running water where I was staying. The only people I'd been in contact with were the people whose rotten couch I'd been crashing on. I'd been living off of Pabst Blue Ribbon, Cheerios, and Carpet Bud the entire time. And when I entered the store, I was instantly terrified. There were clean, healthy, and happy people going about their lives, and I remember feeling like an animal. I was so shocked that I literally had to leave. I felt like I couldn't be in there, almost like I wasn't allowed. And what Revy doesn't understand is the weight of it all. Having things, having hopes and dreams, it's terrifying. The more you have, the more you stand to lose. And in these 5 years since I've settled back down, since my relationship has become more serious, since I started my career, a fear has grown inside me. It's at the same time a fear of losing what I've built and a fear of my own mortality. There were times when I was wild that I felt bad about myself, ostracized from polite company, but now when I lay my head down, I worry about the future, the state of the world, my family, my job. To Revy, it all just looks so clean. The dichotomy between the two main characters that truly brings the show onto a level all its own is that Rock sees Revy's situation in the same light. And that's what I mean when I say Black Lagoon is about two things: action and philosophical character relationships. To a degree, both want what the other has, yet they're unable to understand the drawbacks of the other side. A peaceful life brings internal turmoil, and a life on the edge brings chaos. It's obvious that Revy will never stop shooting or killing. You can see it on her face during every firefight. She admits to being the walking dead, and her acceptance of this allows her to let go of worldly things, including her own life. Yet she wants the option to settle down, to have a normal life with normal friends who go shopping at Bed Bath & Beyond with a coupon. She knows she'll never have that though. And so she looks at Rock with jealousy, envy, and anger, especially when he judges her. Meanwhile, Rock is looking back at the freedom and power that Revy holds, wishing he could be as she holds herself daily, yet still unwilling to take up a gun and try. And it's not necessarily because of fear, but instead because he's unwilling to give up his ideals of right and wrong, because civilized people talk about their problems, they negotiate, they try to see the good in others, and they don't kill. And so we have two people looking at each other from across a metaphorical lake, each wishing they could experience the riches and utopia that comes with the opposite shore, while unable to see the chains each other are restrained with and unwilling to break free from their own shore. I wasn't able to let go. I wouldn't do the hard drugs, I wouldn't break the big laws, I wouldn't take from people or hurt them. I clung to life while I watched the people around me slowly kill themselves. Even now, the last few remnants of the people I once knew are dying off or winding up in jail. I eventually crawled my way back to civilization and all the burdens that come with it. But when I lay down at night, there will always be a part of me that misses the weightlessness of being unbound from all these things that I'm now tied to. The freedom to laugh at the chaos burning down around me while I stood in the twilight. Black Lagoon is about understanding and recognizing the falsity in this cliche about your neighbor's lawn, about the highs and lows of life choices and blazing trails of smoke and fire. It's a story about the struggle of change, of trying to understand a perspective you've never had, and figuring out what life should be for you. Neither Rock or Revy have figured it out yet, but it drives one question home. Does our past shackle us to our path, or can we break free to become whoever we want to? I think that's the final thought of Black Lagoon. Is the past a chain that can't be broken, or are we just unwilling to break it? What's going on, everybody? Mike here. Thank you so much for watching the video. Obviously, this was a very surface video for Black Lagoon. This is just the kind of stuff that came out while I was watching it. We are aware that there's a series of OVAs, and it's something that we're definitely going to cover in the future. So if you liked what you saw, make sure you stick around and hit that subscribe button. Obviously, this is a Patreon-driven channel, so if you would like to help support us, we would be so very happy for you guys to join our Patreon. But anyway, we have some people to thank. First off, I would like to thank our lucky patron of the week, ReaperDeath53. ReaperDeath53, thank you so much for being our lovely patron and supporting the channel. You are the best. And as always, we would like to shout out one of our Super Saiyan gods, one of our high tier patrons. And this week, it's going to be Mass Mayhem 42. My dude, thank you so much for your very generous donation to the channel. We are literally living off of this. It's helping us eat, it's helping us pay our rent, and we can't thank you enough, my dude. For extra content, make sure that you check out our Twitter and Instagram. That is at bonsai_pop on both, TWITCH twitch.tv/Bonsai Pop for the streams. And as always, I'm Mike. This is Bonsai Pop. Stay safe, keep your loved ones close, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.